Welcome, everybody. Today, I have with me a special guest, Janine Cavanaugh, certified professional organizer, and we're going to be talking about how I can best organize my small spaces. So, Janine, feel free to introduce yourself because you can do it better than I do, and then we can get started.
Great. Thanks, Joanne. Thanks for having me and asking me to be with you today. So I am a certified professional organizer. I work with individuals in their home on any organizing, downsizing, decluttering project they want help with. I, kind of specialize in, helping people reduce their belongings and make mindful decisions about their stuff. So that's the type of client that I typically work with, someone who wants to eliminate, reduce, downsize, that type of thing.
I was going to say, anytime I get a call from somebody who wants their attics, their basements, or their garages, I'm always like, Janine, send them her way. She loves that stuff.
I do actually. Yeah. And, I've been in business for 12 years now, a few years less than you, I think, right?
I know. Yeah. I'm coming up on 14. Yep.
Wow. We've seen a lot of changes throughout the industry.
For sure.
And I live in North Attleboro, so I work in North Attleboro, the surrounding areas, and, Rhode Island as well. I do tend to, farm out the clients that tend to be a little further away. Like I don't go into Boston anymore, and I don't go onto the Cape, things like that. So,
yeah.
And I also give classes, presentations, do workshops. Right now, I'm looking for more of that opportunity. So if anyone has any ideas or options,
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But how to best organize small spaces, I've given classes and presentations on this before. And I do have a whole worksheet. It's actually a whole handout, and it's actually a blog article on my website. So, and that's helpfulorganizer.com. So if people want, more written information about it, that's where it is.
Awesome.
But basically, there's, like you probably know, there's always an individual situation. Each situation is unique and particular to that person's, habits, routines, systems, family situation. So, I always tell people the best organizing tip is the tip that you will use that's easy and convenient for you and will make your life better.
Right.
So just glean what you can out of all the information that we're sharing and take what's going to work best for you.
Right.
So I gave you the handout, and there's like 10 tips, but I think we're going to streamline and just talk about 3 tips and 1 principle.
Perfect.
Because I find the principle of everything having a place and everything in its place is kind of paramount in any organizing situation.
Absolutely.
It's what, works best for everybody. You do need to have, and I stressed, specifically things that you use often, obviously, right? Your keys, your purse, your clothing, your personal care items, the things in your kitchen that you use often, things that help you, run your daily life. Have a place for those things and put them there all the time.
Right.
Every time you put them down. Right.
I always say my husband has been trying to get me to put my keys in the same spot for 30 years. I finally do it now. It took him 30 years to get me to stop just dropping my keys. But you know what? For me, it was more about the biggest part of that was when the kids were young. Who can think? You just come in and you drop and go, right?
That drop zone, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But I don't lose my keys anymore. So he was right.
And that's the whole point of organizing. It makes your life a little more streamlined, easier. But there is sometimes a learning curve, just like you said. Not always 30 years, but.
No. I just bought it. I think it was one of those things that I can't think of that when I'm coming in the door, but obviously I can. So.
Right. So, do you want me to just go ahead and talk about the tips?
Yeah, absolutely. Share away.
And if you have any input, feel free
Yeah.
to, chime in. So,
Awesome.
or if anyone has any questions, I'm sure they
Yeah.
write things in and ask questions. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, the first tip that I usually share with people, in respect to that principle of everything having a place and putting everything in that place,
Mm-hmm.
and continually do that, consistently do that. And like you said, it does require some learning sometimes, some, change of habits or just kind of forming that habit.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other, the first tip that I wanted to share was reclaim order. And I have a little diagram. So if you think of the organizing flow as a wheel, and so the wheel is the flow of organizing. So
Mm-hmm.
if you start with, on the top of the wheel, order. So for example, I use, doing dishes or doing the laundry as an example
Mm-hmm.
because it's relatable. So everybody, if you had dirty dishes or if everything was clear and clean, so all the dishes were done or all the laundry was done, nothing was lurking anywhere or hiding anywhere or just waiting for the future.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was clean. That's order. And then you have natural disorder, which is life. We make a mess. We wear our clothes, we dirty them, we have to eat, so we make meals, we dirty the dishes.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's just natural disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to reclaim the order. So you have to take some actions, make some decisions, do something to create the order again.
Right.
So the more time that happens between the natural disorder and the reclaiming of the order, the bigger the mess,
Mm-hmm.
the bigger, the challenge to create the order again.
Exactly.
So the more often we bring ourselves full circle and do the actions that we need to do to reclaim the order, the easier it is to maintain that order and to
Mm-hmm.
stay organized.
Right.
So especially in small spaces where you're limited on counter space and free space or open space or flat surfaces,
Yeah.
you want to practice. And the more you do, the better you get at it, right? So you want to practice reclaiming the order and having a, do it now attitude to get it done. And, realize that life happens and that's okay, but you do need to allow yourself time to reclaim that order.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's the first tip that I share with most people.
Yeah. And I'll add to that, since you're talking about dishes, a lot of times I like to tell people, because people just dread emptying the dishwasher. They dread it. They think it's going to take forever. It's going to be a pain. And if you time yourself, it's usually, not a long period of time.
10 minutes or under. Yeah, usually.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, things need to have a place. Right? You need to make it easy
100%.
to put things away. So,
Right.
Most everybody has a utensil drawer and they know where their utensils go. But if all the other dishes don't have a particular cupboard or space to go,
Right.
they end up on the counter or wherever they can fit.
Exactly.
So as long as they have that place for them to go,
Mm-hmm.
then it happens. I've timed myself and I can usually do it under 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah. Okay, should we move on to the second tip? Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, the tip that works really good for me, and this is something that, again, that favorite tip or that tip that really works for me is to have a return home routine. So when I come into the house after being out of the house for however long, whether it's work, a client, a business or a doctor's appointment or whatever, you bring stuff back in with you.
Mm-hmm.
So allowing yourself 5, 10, 15, however long it takes to take care of what's been brought back in.
Mm-hmm.
So bring, all of your stuff. You can have that drop zone and drop it, but give yourself time to put things away. So even if it's, like you said, just simply putting your keys somewhere or putting your purse in a specific spot, putting the mail in the mail inbox, putting receipts somewhere, any purchases you might have, anything you brought in from your car, kind of putting it away. And again, it stems along the line that these things have a place to go.
Mm-hmm.
Even for your mail, if it's a temporary place, you know, you have an inbox and then you process from the inbox, wherever it needs to go, it's kind of lands there and goes there.
Mm-hmm.
So I find that allows me to keep up with the mess, you know, so that I don't just keep bringing things in and not taking care of them or putting them away or kind of finding a home for them.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the second tip that
Okay.
and I find that for me, that's one of the tips that, you know, really helps me maintain order.
Yeah. And that kind of goes back to me not putting my keys away. I'm really good about paper coming in. You know, groceries, I don't let those sit, you know, and, you know, anything else I'm bringing in from my car, I'm good about that. But yeah, it's getting past that. But just getting into that habit of doing that.
Right.
And giving yourself grace if you miss a couple days, you know, it's okay if you miss, just start back up and keep going, you know.
Right. It's keeping that flow going so that, you know, there's reclaiming of the order. There's cleaning up and picking up at some point.
Right.
You know, and if people need to designate a specific time, if they can't do it right when they come in the door, then as long as they do it sometime in their day, then it's easier to maintain the order and keep it going. Yeah, and keep some semblance of order as opposed to just chaos or just piles and messes. Yeah.
Awesome.
And then, you know, and I do find that in small spaces, it's even more important because, again, you're limited on space. And so if you just have, you know, just kind of drop things, that drop zone ends up getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yes.
Or you have multiple drop zones and then you kind of just plop things down in whatever places.
Yes.
And I like to share.
Very typical.
Yeah. And I like to share, and I'm not sure, you know, I didn't coin this phrase, but clutter is a social creature. So it likes to hang out with other clutter. So you have a big pile or a mess, it kind of attracts more.
Oh, definitely. I'm a surface clutterer. So like right behind me, very clear desk because no one's using it right now. And my husband put a book on it. And I literally it was a book to donate. And I said, you need to remove that because that one book is going to turn into a big pile in no time. It's amazing how that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quickly. And people get frustrated thinking, oh, well, you know, I clean up and I organize and then, you know, a day later, a week later, or a month later, or whatever, it ends up being a mess again. And that's the whole point of, you know, that organizing flow is you have to reclaim that order and stop clutter from being social.
Yes, I like that. I've never heard that actually.
Yeah, I'm not sure, you know, where I got the phrase from, but, you know, it wasn't my original idea.
Yeah. It's good though.
Yeah. And then, sorry, something?
No, that was just my chair.
Cool. And then the other, you know, tip that I usually give people, especially in small spaces, is to be creative and utilize the space that you have, utilize the storage you have, you know, really use it to its fullest potential if possible. You know, take advantage of the vertical space, take advantage of hidden storage that you might not recognize otherwise. Yeah. So we tend to fill the spaces we have. So if you know, have limited space or smaller spaces, you know, it's tempting to fill it to its max and then not have any room for growth or change.
Yeah, that's a key thing. It's the growth and change because people say, well, I have this space. I'm going to organize this way. I like to use like Tupperware containers that people want to fill all their cereal and things in. And they, you know, you see those beautiful pantries with everything organized and they have it all set. And then they change what they're eating or they, you know, or they change, you know, they get more in and then they're like, well, now it doesn't fit. So yeah, you got to leave room for growth for sure. Not that we want to expand so much, but growth and change, as you say, like they're going to different sizes and
yeah. And there's so many products out there and you can easily find, you know, something, but if you need help, you know, looking at your space from a different perspective or from, you know, just gathering ideas as to what you can do with your small space, then, ask a friend, ask a designer, ask an organizer to
Right.
give you some ideas, suggestions, possible solutions that might help with that.
Right. Because we're in our space all the time. We see it as it is. And then, oh, Linda, do you know Linda? I'm going to pop her up on the screen so you can see.
Yes.
Yes, she said she found us finally.
Oh,
So
glad you found us.
I'll have to go back and catch the beginning part, but welcome, Linda. So yeah, so we look at our own spaces and we don't see beyond. I mean, I know I've even had, like, my daughters will be like, well, why don't we do it this way? And it never even occurred to me to do something a different way because I'm just used to the same routine.
Right.
But yes, fresh set of eyes. And sometimes it takes, a professional who's used to working in coming up with different, unique ways to look at things and utilize those spaces.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, some of the products, I'm not a big advocate of organizing products,
Same.
but I do tend to encourage them more with smaller spaces because it just helps corral and create some boundaries for what we do have.
Right.
And that is usually easier to keep, like several bins in order as opposed to several different things in random, areas.
Yeah, one of my favorite tools, and it's one that I recommend to almost everybody, even if they have a somewhat of a big space, is the over the door shoe organizer. I love those. And, those, a lot of people are like, well, I don't want it hanging over my door. And I'm like, well, you can nail it to the inside of the door or connect it with command strips if you don't want to ruin the door. But the inside of any door, even with just hooks or, any kind of rack or anything, is such an underutilized space.
Right. And, even in shelves and cabinets and, I say, if you see the back of the shelf or the back of the cabinet, and there's a lot of space there that you're seeing, it's usually, I call it airspace or kick space. That means that there's space available for you to use if you need it to store more.
Oh, I lost you for 1 second. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I lost you for a second. So you're talking about the back of the space of the cabinet.
Yeah. So, I mean, so if you're if you open your cabinet and you see what's in there, but you also see the back of the cabinet.
Right.
That means that there's space available, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
We don't necessarily want to use every inch of the space, but there is space available.
Right.
You use risers for you to use, hooks or hanging or put something on the back of the cabinet, that type of thing.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't even realize that some cabinets, not older ones, but newer cabinets, the shelves can be adjusted. So you really want to think about what you have in the, make sure that you're utilizing the right, distance between each shelf.
Exactly.
That could be helpful. I don't have that. We live in a very small house and a small kitchen, non-adjustable shelves. So use things like risers to separate, because you never want to stack like plates this high. You want to have, what is it, 6 high is like the maximum or something like that. And then being able to stack on top of those little wire risers is helpful.
Creating more layers. Yeah. Creating more shelves.
Definitely.
Yeah. Awesome. And then too, there's so much furniture available now to think vertically, to go higher as opposed to wider. And things that you can mount on the wall, just like you could mount on the back of the door, things you can mount on the wall to use that space.
Yes.
So that it's easier to, so not everything is on the floor or taking up floor space.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes it much easier to clean when things aren't all over the floor.
Exactly. And then dual purpose furniture, furniture that has more than one purpose, or even appliances that have more than one purpose, or even small things like cleaning supplies or toiletries that have more than one purpose.
Yeah.
Then you have less than what you need. Less product to fill your need. Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Like an all-purpose cleaner would be like one example of that, but yes.
Exactly. Yeah. So then, you need less things to fulfill your household duties.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So those were the 3 tips and the 1 principle. Is there something more? I mean, I have more information that I could easily provide, so I didn't know how we're doing.
Well, I was reading the thing. I definitely think it helps to mention the 1 in, 1 out rule. That's something that should always be something we try to do as much as possible. And I always tell people, because people are like, well, if I bring in a shirt, I don't have another shirt I want to get rid of. And I say, find anything in your house that you can kind of, send to the donate pile or the recycle or the trash if it is trash. But
yeah, I encourage that as well. And I also think that it doesn't have to be, a shirt for a shirt, but it is kind of necessary for it to be equal in size and maybe function.
Yeah.
One or the other. Because it's not like you can bring in a new sofa and get rid of, like a spare sock. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, it's not equitable. So you have to, balance it out so that
right. And in my point is really simply so that you're just used to letting go of something every day. I mean, really, people don't realize there's stuff that we can let go of every day. We hope to get to the point where we're not doing that because we're not wasting. But people that have a lot of clutter really need to have that regular practice.
Let it go.
Removing it and letting it go. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's so easy to bring things into our space, especially in our culture. We're definitely a very product-oriented, consumer-oriented society. So that, more is better, right?
Yeah.
They think that, it's fun to go shopping, and it's fun to, bring things into our space and get new things. So, one thing that with that 1 in, 1 out rule is I find it's very helpful for me for clothes, especially when I'm shopping myself, so that I'm thinking about, okay, I want this sweater. Am I willing to get rid of something, or am I willing to get rid of a sweater that's in my closet?
Yeah.
Same with, shoes or books or things that we kind of tend to easily, different people have different things that they gravitate towards that are sometimes those impulse buys or
I'm going to pop this up. Linda says she has clutter.
We all have clutter, right?
We do.
And it looks different for different people.
Yeah, 100%. We all have our own. We all have our own level of, what clutter is. But yeah, and even as an organizer, like I said, we've been packing our house for about a year, getting ready to think about even selling. And God, you just don't realize that there's still a lot of stuff, even though we're constantly getting rid of stuff. We don't bring a lot of stuff in. We try not to, but it happens.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, like I said, it's easy to accumulate. And then along that 1 in, 1 out kind of guideline, I encourage people, if their focus is to reduce and to let go and to, pare down a little bit, streamline, then challenge themselves a little bit more. Do a 1 in, a 2 out, or a 1 in, a 3 out, especially with smaller things or, like paper things too. I mean, how much paper?
Notebooks, like planners.
We did our taxes.
Mail.
It's like, okay, I got rid of, several years of back taxes or a couple of years of back taxes to make room for the new. And
exactly.
It's just cycling out. It's constantly, letting go and cleaning up. Yeah.
So I would ask you this question. I know how I approach a person's space, but how do you tell people to begin when they have a lot of clutter? What's the first thing you say to them?
Well, a couple of things that I recommend is, allow yourself, more than one pass. So if you go through the process, realize that you don't have to get rid of every single thing at first. You can do just the easy stuff and then go through it again at some point in the future.
Yeah.
So allow yourself some, because decisions are hard and letting go is hard for a lot of people. So realizing that they don't have to do it all at once.
Right. Yeah. So when they're faced with a huge room and they're overwhelmed, just knowing that you just start and just do a little bit. And yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then also, just I tell people start with the flat surfaces, everything that's horizontal, so that's the floors, the counters, the desktops, the tabletops, and work on those spaces first.
Right.
And it helps create space for you to work in the rest of the rest of the room. Yeah. And then the other thing is I usually tell people, just pick a starting point in the room and work clockwise around the space so that you're touching everything, because it's easy sometimes to bounce from space to space to space or project to project to project, like kind of zigzag organizing. But if you could be more methodical and thorough, then you've touched everything at least once, and then you can you can make progress.
Exactly. Yeah, because I think a lot of people get stuck, and it's going back to that, just allow yourself that pass. Just say, if you get to something and you're stuck, just move on to the next thing. Don't worry about it. Don't think about it. Just keep reducing.
Yeah.
And then,
I mean, unless everything becomes a maybe.
Right? Well, that's true too. Yeah.
You don't want that to happen. But it's okay to have some maybes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that said, you can go through everything and there could be a lot of maybes. Go through it and keep doing maybes, and then say, all right, I didn't get rid of anything. I really need to focus, and now I need to make decisions. But
right.
I think, I mean, that's definitely when we're working with our the other spectrum, not necessarily hoarders, but level 1 hoarders, people that just really can't let go of things. I'm going to put up Susan. Susan's here. Thank you, Susan.
Nice to see you, Susan.
I meant to thank her for her comment in the beginning. She had said 2 of the very best. She's very kind. So this has been helpful. Hopefully, other people got some ideas. I mean, I know I think we work very similarly with people, which is why I always feel confident sending people your way, especially for stuff, because I don't work with stuff anymore. And I haven't.
Well,
now I'm all virtual, but even like the past probably 5 years before I went virtual, I was mostly paperwork. So anytime anybody called me for, and I still get the occasional call looking for, that space stuff. I'll be like, nope, can't do it. Here you go. So awesome. Yeah. So feel free. At this point, is there anything specific that you wanted to share that for anybody?
Well, my class, I was offering some classes on at the libraries coming up at the end of March and in April, but a lot of them have been postponed until further notice. But they can go on my website, they can read my blog, they can share anything, they can, ask questions. So that's the place to,
Okay. And I'll put it's Helpful Organizer.
Yep. Helpfulorganizer.com.
Yeah. You should sell that. You don't use that in your branding. You should sell that name. That's a good name.
Yeah.
You could probably get a lot of money for it. Yeah, and actually, maybe there could be a point where maybe this is a time to take some of those courses virtually.
Right. Yeah.
Record them and have them for people. Like, even if you don't want to run them live, it would be
right. I'll have to talk to you about that.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, and Susan Kinney's here too. I haven't seen her in a while. She's sick.
Thanks, Susan.
Thank you. So, and this week I'm going to share my 7-day challenge, which is the first 7 days of my Clearing a Path to Peace program, since we're talking about reducing. I'll put that in the comments. And
right.
Do we keep it? What time is it? Oh, perfect. Just to 30 minutes. That's actually a good time.
Yeah.
So
time frame.
Thank you for being here. And I'm trying to
thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, it's been nice.
My things. And we'll have to do it again. I think we talked about some other ideas too. So
sure, I'd be happy to.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanne. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Good day, everyone.